What's up, you guys? How's it going? And happy Saturday. I'm going to wait a minute or so here. I will ramble while I wait so that you are not staring at a silent jockey. I'll wait for a couple people to hop on. But today we are going to be talking about how to find the right weights for you, right? Like, how do you know if you're lifting too heavy or too light? I do apologize for my grow fit, you guys. Check this bad boy out. We got some soggy big shorts and tee today. I swear to God, I was going to get dressed up for you guys. I was going to do like the whole makeup thing that people do these days and like a nice outfit. But then I had lunch and now I'm making cookies. So, so real clothes didn't happen. So hopefully a couple people hop on. Dang it, you guys. Okay, awesome. We've got one person on. That means we have to go to start. Whoever that one person is. Let me hear you say hey, and we're going to go ahead and dive in. Say hey. Give me a hey. Cool. Alright, so what we're going to be talking about real quick today for Saturday sweats gains is pretty much how to find the right weights for you. How do you know if you're lifting too light, and how do you know if you're lifting too heavy? Layla, what is up, girl? How are you? So how to find out if the weights that you're lifting are too light or too heavy, and for what muscle group, etc. So the first thing I just want to start off by saying is, I really should have worn a tank top or something because I'm going to be pointing out muscle groups and stuff, but here we are regardless. So the first thing I want to point out is by saying, like, obviously if you're getting frustrated, like all the time, I'm good, Layla, how are you? All the time I get people, some of my clients being like, I just can't like lift very heavy, like I'm only lifting like 6 or 8 pounds with my shoulders, is that right? Yes, that is right. And someone was like, well, I'm not working my legs very hard with 8 pounds. Yes, that is also right. I mean, basic anatomy, you guys. Look at my... Sorry, I was reading a text from my boyfriend. Look at these quads, right? Like, these puppies, like, look how big my quads are. Obviously, there's different muscles in here. Look how big my quads are. Look how big my hamstrings are. Like, these are some big-ass muscles. My glutes was a huge muscle, right? Then so just kind of think in terms of like, a bigger crane or a bigger forklift can lift heavier things. But a smaller crane and a smaller forklift can lift smaller things, if that makes sense, right? Your muscles are no different. Your legs can obviously lift heavier. It sounds like it shouldn't need to be said, but your legs can obviously lift heavier because they're bigger. Your glutes can lift heavier than your shoulders can. And your triceps likely can lift less than your biceps, or pretty equal maybe. And like your shoulders, like if you think in terms of like, I was actually saying to James the other day that I feel like I have a saggy sports bra on right now, you guys. For the first time ever, I can like actually like look. I can like actually see the separation of my front delt versus my lateral delt. And then if you look from behind, like look, hold on. Like there, you can kind of see that separation. Your shoulder is 3 heads, right? And so I think my shoulders do a really good job. If you were here in person with me, you can see this. My shoulders have for the first time ever, gains. My shoulders do a really good job, thank you shoulders, of separating out so that you can actually see, okay, I don't know if you guys can see it, like that's my front, it's kind of hard to flex a front delt, but like that's my front delt, this is my lateral deltoid, I don't know how to flex a lateral delt, right, that's my lateral delt head right there, I don't know how to flex my rear delt, but these are really small muscles, right, like if you look at my front delt compared to my quad, you could fit like 20 of my frontal delts on my quad. So think of it like a crane, like a forklift, right? So like obviously a bigger forklift, legs can lift heavier weights than like when you're doing front raises, like this is such a small freaking muscle. Obviously you can lift like 100 times more weight on your legs. Same thing if you're doing like lateral raises, right? Like that's such a small muscle. And same thing if you're doing like, I don't know, any kind of like tricep kickbacks that are using like right here and are using the back of your arms. So kind of think of it that way. And like a lot of times we have really, really, really really strong backs. Like, you can lat pull a lot of weight because your back muscles, most of them, a lot of them are huge, right? Like, if you think of your lats span across like the entire back of your shoulder and then down. Your trapezius is like all the way across, right? And it comes in. Like, your back muscles are also really, really, really big muscles. So that's why people tend to be able to row weights and row weights and row weights down like that, because you've got strong, big back muscles, right? So first thing is, don't get discouraged if you can't front raise a lot of weight, or if you're like, well, why can't I bicep curl 15 pounds but I can only front raise 10? Like, think of it like a forklift, right? Because essentially, if you want to talk about the mind-muscle connection, yes, obviously you move at the joint. Like, I'm moving at the joint, but my joint, and you don't want to move from the joint, you want to move you move at the joint, but you move because of the muscles. You move, like, it's a good way. Okay, so squats, right? Like, I am, yes, I'm squatting, so I'm moving at the hips, and I'm moving at the knees, but, oh, I'm so sore. But I'm moving because of my quads, because of my glutes, because of my hamstrings, because of my abs. I am moving, right? Yes, the movement is happening at my hips and at my knees, but I'm moving because of the muscles. So the muscles are like, are why you move. You don't want to move because of the joints. You want to move from the muscles. The muscles are like the engine of the forklift. Okay, the muscles are the engine of the forklift. So hopefully that kind of helps understand that. And now I wanted to talk about how do you and now majority. So as I kind of get into this little explanation here. Majority of the women in this group, I'm just going to assume, they want to gain strength, but not bulk up. Some of you might want to gain size of muscle, but some of you just want to gain like lean body mass, like where you can see, like my shoulder. Actually, I'm starting to get like little big bulky shoulders here, but like where you can see my butt's a good example. Like I forget the point. A lot of you in this group are in a place where you want to gain lean mass, or you want to lose body fat and gain lean mass, but you want like a toned and strong and like a skinny but strong look. And I'm also just like totally assuming that, right? I know that there are definitely women in this group that want to like get big and strong, and I fucking love that because I am big and strong. My legs are monsters, and I love them, and my ass is a monster, and I love it. Like my legs, you guys. Side note: I go back to the gym next week. Well, we go back to Manhattan tomorrow. I can't even tell you how excited I am to go to the gym, but how sore I'm gonna be. Usually, I'm leg pressing like 200 to 300 pounds. While I'm at the gym, and the heaviest weights here I've lifted are 15s. So I'm gonna be so sore. You want to be fit and tight. So this video is gonna be really helpful for you, girlfriend, as I kind of dive into what I'm gonna explain now. Which is, so this is obviously if you're at the gym and you have access to a weight rack, or you have access to a cable machine. If you're at home using just body weights, this is not so applicable. If you're using resistance bands, it's applicable. If you're using body weights, not so applicable. So, but for education purposes, if you are ever going to be using weights, watch this training. If you're not, I don't know what to tell you, you're not going to get strong unless you're lifting weights. I'm going to repeat that. You're not going to get strong unless you're lifting weights. Cool. Alright, so, how do you know what weights to lift? Right? So I kind of addressed like who this is for. This is for, so we have three different types of strength training, right? So we've got strength training for hypertrophy. Hypertrophy strength training is gaining the size of your muscles, right? That's saying like, I want to grow an inch on my quads. I want to grow 2 inches on my glutes. I want to grow, like I want big biceps and big shoulders, right? That's called hypertrophy training. And there is specific sets and reps that make the most sense for hypertrophy training. Next then is maximal strength training. Maximal strength training is like, I want to be hitting PRs on my squats. I want to be hitting PRs on my chest and my deadlift, and I want to be hitting 1 rep maxes and 10 rep maxes, and like PRs is, maximal strength style of training is, again, maximal strength training has its own kind of sets and reps make the most sense for maximal strength. But that's basically just saying like, you don't care about the size of your muscle, not that you don't care, but the goal isn't to increase size of muscle, and the goal also isn't to increase muscular endurance per se, but it is to lift weights and like lift heavy, heavy, heavy. So that's for maximal strength. And then on the other side of things, the last kind of side of things, and this is all for strength training, right? Like I'm not talking cardio right now. For strength training, the third, and what I would say is likely the most applicable to this group. Now, I would say, obviously, like, don't disregard hypertrophy training. Don't disregard maximal strength training, strength training, right? Don't disregard those things. It's okay to have sets and reps for those styles of training every so often. But it's where if you're like, every day you're hitting the weights, you're doing hypertrophy style training, every day you're doing it, that's when you will get a growth in size of muscle. Now, obviously, also women, I want to be very clear, majority of you are either A, not eating enough to bulk up like that, or B, you're not eating enough protein to bulk up like that. I'm going to say that one more time. So if you sprinkle in a couple hypertrophy or maximal strength style trainings, or you're lifting like really, 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 really heavy, women, a lot of us don't have the testosterone or are eating enough protein or are eating enough calories a day to bulk up like that anyway. Like, I have been strength training for like 8 years, you guys. Actually, I've been strength training for like 4, 5. I've been strength training for almost 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, almost 12 years. Like, I don't consider myself big and bulky, right? Like, yeah, I got like defined here and like bigger up here. But that's the thing. Again, like, I'm not eating enough calories or protein to be bulking. And if you want to bulk, I'm not your coach. I don't feel educated enough in that field to help you bulk. I mean, I could, but like, anyway, so the point of showing you my gains is just to show you, like, you're likely not eating enough calories and protein to get that big anyway. So I fucking love throwing in a couple hypertrophy style trainings or maximal strength style trainings. I'm not afraid to do like 5x5s. I'm not afraid to do drop sets, although those are more on the muscular endurance side of things. I'm not afraid to lift heavy because I fucking lift heavy, and you know what lifting heavy means? I gotta eat more fucking food because my metabolism boosts. But anyway, not the point of this video. Sometimes I go off on little tangents. Y'all just need to be like, Jackie, reel it back in. So, muscular endurance is that third style of strength training. Muscular endurance is your 3x10s, your 3x12s, your 3x15s, your 4x10s, your 4x15s, your 3x20s, right? So lower reps, higher sets. And now I don't mean pick up a 5-pound weight and just stand there for a minute bicep curling. Like, that is not heavy enough for even muscular endurance style training. So, you guys, it's so nice out right now. It's beautiful out. But, I need to go check on my cookies. So, where was I in my train of thought right there? Muscular endurance, right? You're like 3x15s, you're 3x20s. But that's the thing, is like a lot of women, and this is why this is important for me to communicate to you guys. I feel like a lot of women will say like, oh, I'm doing right, instead of doing like a 6x4, right? Oh, and lifting heavy, because if it's 4 reps, sure, you want to lift heavy, right? But a lot of women will say like, oh, I'm doing low sets, meaning 2, 3, or 4 sets, high reps, meaning 10 to 20, right? A lot of women will say that, and that's great, but you might not even be lifting heavy enough to be like strength training, using the muscle tissues and muscle fibers that are involved in strength training, and using the energy systems that are involved in strength training. If you're not lifting heavy enough, like, you might just be doing cardio with a weight or doing nothing. So here's how you find the right weights for you. So for simplicity's sake, I'm going to say 5, 10s, 15s, 20s, 25s. That's what you have at home. And now, obviously, I understand that things like a bicep curl drop, upper body, that's going to be, for simplicity's sake, we're going to say 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, right? For simplicity's sake. So what I want you to do, if you are training for muscular endurance, right? Lean body mass. Um, you want to be lifting in kind of that like 10 to 15-ish rep range, right? And where I'm going with this is like, at first, you need to figure out for what muscle groups is the right amount of weight. What's too heavy, what's too light, right? So I'm going to start with a basic example. I'm just going to stand up for this. Hopefully you guys can hear me back here. If you can't, let me know. Let's just say I should have done this downstairs, but like, let's just say I have my weights lined up. I've got my 5s, my 10s, my 15s, my 20s, and I'm figuring out what's the right weight for a bicep curl, right? So essentially what you want to do is kind of find your sweet spot of where you can hit fatigue, not necessarily like burnout, but like you can feel the burn, right? So I'm going to come closer and say that. Not necessarily the burnout, but you want the burn. Not the burnout, but the burn, right? You still want to be able to keep going. So you want to hit your burn and hit your fatigue, but not so burnt and fatigued your form goes bad. Not so burnt and fatigued your form goes bad. But you want to hit your burn and your fatigue between 10 and 15 reps. So, hypothetically here, I'm going to go, and you got to play around with it. Like, bring a notepad. So I'm going to imaginary play around with it, right? I'm going to pick up my 5-pound weight. I'm going to sit here, and I'm going to bicep curl. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to fast forward to 17, 18, 19, and I'm barely feeling the burn. I'm barely feeling fatigue. My form is fine. Stop there. You're wasting your time. That's not a heavy enough weight. Put your 5s down, okay? Shake it out. Take a rest. Take a second. Take a minute. Go pick up your 10s. And then you're going to stand here. And you're going to bicep curl again, right? And you can, if you know that like 5s is too light, don't start there. But so you're going to bicep curl, right? So you're going to bicep curl 1, 2, 3, and we're fast forwarding, 16, 17, 18. Okay, again, clearly that's not heavy enough. Maybe feeling the burn a little bit, but it's not an intense burn. I'm feeling it a little bit, but it's not intense. My form is fine. I can keep going. 20 reps, 25 reps, 30 reps. So I'm going to put that down. I'm going to pick up my 15s, right? And so now I've got my 15s. I'm going to wait a second, right? Let my muscles recover. And then, so I get like that true reading. And then I'm going to go again. 1, 2, 3. Let's just say I get to 14, 15. Okay, so at 13, I'm feeling the burn, but my form is good. At 14, I'm feeling the burn, but my form is good. At 15, I'm feeling the burn, but my form is good. And at 16, I feel like, oh, I'm hitting my max, right? So 15 is good. And the 15-pound weights are good if I'm doing like a rep day of like 15. But if I'm doing a rep day that's 10, and I start to feel my burn at 13, again, that's still not heavy enough, right? Unless you're doing like 3x15s. But then I'm going to go and I'm going to pick up my 20s, again, for simplicity's sake. I'm going to toss them up, right? I'm going to wait a minute. Now I'm going to bicep curl again. 1, 2, 3. At 9, I'm going to start to really, really feel it. At 10, I'm going to start to really, really feel it. At 11, I'm like, all right, cool, I've hit my fatigue. Boom, put it down. Those 20s are what you should be lifting. You need to hit your fatigue and your burn, like feeling the burn within 10 and 15 reps, right? So then hypothetically, let's just say I wanted to see, okay, well, let me see if I can do my 25s. Again, maybe I'll go do a couple minutes of cardio, a couple squats, and I'm going to come back, right? So now I'm going to pick up my 25s, and I got my 25s here, and I'm curling 1, ooh, this is heavy, 2, ooh, this is heavy, 3, ooh, this is too heavy, 4. I hit my fatigue at 4. We've just hit your threshold. The 25s are too much. Hopefully, if this is not making sense, please just let me know. The 25s are too much, right? So that's kind of how you want to play around with it. Now, this might be a shorter process if you've strength trained before, but it might be a lot longer of a process if you've never strength trained before. So again, same thing. Like, I'm going to go and I'm going to, like, I've got really strong legs. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to pick up, let's just say for simplicity's sake, a 50-pound kettlebell, right? And then I'm going to start doing my squats. Oh my God, I am so sore, you guys. Woo! I'm going to start doing my squats, right? Let's just say I can do 15 squats with a 50. I'm going to put that down. I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to grab the 60. Let's just say I can only do 8 with the 60. Clearly I know then that the movement patterns with either cables or dumbbells or resistance bands or whatever. Essentially, simplicity's sake, just try to find your sweet spot, right? If I were to summarize this up in a couple words, you need to find your sweet spot of when you hit fatigue between 10 and 15 reps. If you can't hit your fatigue between 10 and 15 reps and you can blow past 15, it's not fucking heavy enough. And if you're hitting your sweet spot between 10 and 15 reps, if you are like barely making it to 10 reps, I would say lift lighter, right? If you've been, doing your front raises with an 8 for so long, and then one week you want to try your 10s and you can only get 8 to 10 reps in, it's fucking fine. I promise you, it's fine. Just lift the heavier weight. But essentially, I mean, even, like 8 to 15, like you really just want to be hitting a true fatigue in between those numbers, right? Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. You're not going to get stronger, right? I mean, you will, but like then you're looking at really playing around with variables like time under tension and what you're doing in between sets and reps, right? So, okay, all of a sudden it's just super bright out here. Hopefully this makes sense. If you guys have questions, please comment them below. I really want this to kind of like set in because strength training is beautiful and it's amazing and I fucking love it, and I want everybody to strength train in a way that actually is making a difference in your body. Like that's how you will actually gain strength and momentum, is by hitting your sweet spot between like 8 and 15 reps and actually feeling that fatigue and actually feeling that burnout. So any questions? Saturday sweats. Layla and Angie, questions? 5, 4, 3. I'm gonna go make some cookies. 2.